This particular block would be classed as a very difficult block because it's a steep block. All the water off that block was tending to channel into the centre. When it would rain, it would run red all the way through to the creek. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way of getting around this. We were lucky enough to come in contact with the likes of Peter Andrews, who was involved in the sequential farming practices, and his idea was to slow down water runoff. I then looked at the idea of diverting and collecting that water across the block. We designed then a retention area. I then channeled that dam across and down and across and down the block with a process of channels. If you actually can contain the amount of water that's dropped on your block within your block, you're actually building up the water holding capacity of your block. Therefore, you're actually getting a deeper root system on your grass, so your paddocks will stay greener longer. My paddocks do stand out. We've actually had comments from passer-bys that have come in to say, what are you doing that's different? You know, what fertiliser you use? I said, I don't use fertiliser, I just use an aerator. Now what the aerator does, it actually pokes holes in the ground, and as it twists, snaps the actual soil sideways. So it actually creates air pockets in the ground. When you have a heavy rainfall event, the actual water won't run off, it'll actually run into those pockets. To really run a property properly, fencing was the most important part of it. Where this actual creek runs down here, there's a fence line. The cattle are excluded from going inside any of the line of the actual scrub itself. I have up to 27 paddocks on a 160-acre property. With the forced smaller paddocks, it actually gives you a more uniform grazing pattern. It also gives you a more uniform spread of manure. As you can see, I just kicked over this pad here and it's just a mass of dung beetles. These dung beetles are actually carting all the manure back under the ground. So again, what you've really got here is a self-fertilising block. They're burying this dung quicker than what you'd ever believe. We all know how mulching your garden improves the water holding capacity, and the same goes with mulching your paddocks. You can see that the ground cover there is quite extensive, so when you get the first shower of rain, you've got mulch which is moist, and that's where you start your humus and build up of organic carbon levels. This is a legume that's been introduced here called pinto peanut. Nitrogen supplied to the ground, excellent protein material. This is called Cadillo centro. Now it's an incredible nitrogen booster to the soil. I see legumes as the most important part of my operation, because over a period of time I've been able to eliminate using fertiliser as such. Another point of interest is to retain as many trees in the paddock as possible, because cows like the shade in the hotter periods, and also you will find that the grass that grows under the trees is a higher protein grass than what's growing out in the paddock. Most of the troughs are on a split fence situation, so they drink from both sides of the fence. There's only one water point that's required for the two paddocks. Where cattle walk uphill to water, you'll get tracking that'll come in your paddock. So if you can put your water points at the bottom of the paddock, they actually tend to graze down towards the water, and they're not actually creating cow pads in your paddock. Now, cow pads in your paddock, when you've got a heavy rainfall event, cow pads become gullies. From an aesthetic point of view, I don't like the look of it. And it doesn't grow grass. A bare patch doesn't grow grass. These are important things, eh? If I was starting up a property in the future, the first thing I would do, before I even purchased it, I would get a soil test. That lets you know, for a start, whether you're buying a hard job or an easy job. With the ability of hindsight and the ability of a little bit of grey hairs and so on, yeah, a soil test is well worth the effort. What I've learned over a period of time is you never stop learning, and it's always been that competitive situation where I've been of the impression that if you can do that, I might be able to do it a little bit better. So you just got to get that competitiveness in you, and it's interesting.